Thanks for listening to Spies Like Us. I'm Dave, and I'm here with your other favorite co-host, Todd Hostetler.
Hey,
Uh,
Al.
Howdy. And we're going to be talking about Turn, and I believe the full title is Turn Washington Spies. For those of you that don't know, during the Revolutionary War of the United States, prior to the beginning of the United States of America, General Washington incorporated an actual spy ring. I think it's nicknamed the Culper spy ring.
That's right.
Yeah, there are tons and tons and tons of books and cool podcasts to talk about, or that go over all of the history of this. But we are watching the show on Netflix, season one, back on our new format, where we do a movie, then we do 3 episodes of a season of a TV show. Yeah, so we're starting off Turn, and yeah, so this is kind of cool because it kind of is like the birth of America, but we're also like watching it through the eyes of espionage. So I watched this a long time ago, and Todd and I had discussed that we really wanted to do it on the podcast, and so this is more fresh in your mind. I think you've finished season one.
I just finished season one last night, and I've watched, or maybe the night before. Let's see, today's Sunday. No, yeah, last night, and I've rewatched half of the first season again since then. I like it a lot. I think I can't think of. No, I can think of only two non-science fiction television shows that I like more than this, and that would be Sopranos and The Wire. So that's how high up my esteem for this, my personal esteem. This show just scratches many of my itches in delightful ways.
That's quite the comparison, The Wire and The Sopranos with this, So I guess that very, very, very highly acclaimed by both Todd and Dave. If you're really into spy stuff, you're definitely going to dig this show. And if you're into American history and spy stuff, you're going to go nuts. There's lots of both.
It's an AMC original. And that's best known for their big hit, The Walking Dead. And you can see a lot of the same kind of like really good showcraft stuff. Lots of exteriors, lots of locations, tons of characters.
Mm-hmm. A lot of characters,
including one that I want to just call out real quick before we even start talking about spycraft, because I don't know where else to fit it in, but I really like the baby.
Abe's baby, yeah, very very cute.
The baby is adorable and he's the best baby actor I've ever seen in my life. He's doing so much, and he has like so many expressions. And there's one in particular, it just blows me away. Let's see, I wrote it down. Do this later. And if you're listening and if you watch this show, you should definitely check this out. Go to hour 1 and 3 minutes. And this is where Abe's dad is telling him that he knows that he lied about something really important. And they're building this up. They're building this up. The little baby's in Abe's arms. And he's just looking around, doing baby stuff. Looking at butterflies, kind of sucking on his finger. The moment Abe's dad says, "I know you lied," the baby just fucking smile drops and like just head snaps to his dad with a look of like, the fuck did he just say?
That must have taken quite a bit of time for the crew to wait till the baby did something.
I've been thinking about it so much. I think you just, if you have a baby this good, you just get a bunch of footage because you could like splice that in. But I guarantee whoever did the editing on that, they fucking gave themselves a big ass high five for this moment. Check it out. Absolutely. It's amazing. 1 hour and 3 minutes.
Yeah. No, the baby is great, and lots of adorable shots from the baby. I think the majority of the show takes place in Sawtucket, and we've already discussed our baby, the child of our protagonist, Abraham Woodhull. I guess the significance of Sawtucket was it was kind of split with the population of this like little small town of people that left to fight for the revolution and people that are loyalists to the crown. And it was kind of interesting because our protagonist Abe he stays in Pawtucket, but he's got a lot of friends that left and joined the Continental Congress. Um, but there is a lot of really legit history in this show, and I think we should maybe discuss some of the major characters. And Todd, I think you said that you looked into a bunch of the history, and maybe we could chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, I found a solid article on the historical accuracy of the Culper Ring. Is how
Mhm.
this is remembered in history. They haven't called it that yet in the show.
Right.
Um, Especially, really all the major characters are accurate people, including some that you'd be surprised by, like Simcoe, real
Oh
dude,
yeah. Yep.
real dude, and
Very much so.
was probably not this big of an asshole, but he definitely really, really, really hated the Continentals, and
Yes.
he was pretty brutal, and he's one of my favorite characters of the show. Um, Robert Rogers, who is, like, especially watching it the second time now, knowing that he was a really famous person, I noticed that that's how he's introduced. Like, people react to him like, oh my God, Robert Rogers, you're a fucking legend. Um, and yeah, he absolutely is. He literally, for the time, he wrote the book on like guerrilla warfare that people studied and stuff. And there's like three
Yeah, what is he,
regiments.
like a gun for hire? He runs like this elite group of like guerrilla type mercenaries. I guess I guess him and his whole crew is like a gun for hire, and he's like super elite sabotage type of guerrilla warfare guy. And yeah, he's Scottish, so you get a lot of like fun lines from him.
Yeah, the Scottish did do a ton of mercenary work in this period of history.
Mm.
Although I'm not 100% sure on this because I didn't write it down, but it looks like he might have actually been Irish, um,
Oh,
which is weird. And he was born in the States. But as a Scotsman myself, I mean, I love him. He's tied with Simcoe as favorite character.
yeah,
Uh,
he's a lot of fun.
lots of fun. He's got some Russell Crowe energy going on.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely a sharp. He's not like a very proper type dude. He's more of like a, drinks a lot, talks a lot of shit. Doesn't really give a shit about where you are, who you are. If you give respect, he'll give it back. But he's also like very elite warfare type. So he's a fun character.
Smart as fuck too.
Yeah.
And I think he gets just some of the best lines in the show. But yeah, Abraham, Caleb, even Anna Strong, real
Uh
person.
huh. Very
That was
much
really
a
important.
very real person. Yeah.
And Ben Talmadge is regarded as a real visionary of
Yeah.
early intelligence work. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's very famous. I actually wanted to talk about Talmadge and John Andre. We didn't get a lot of Major John Andre in the first episode, but he's there. You just don't get he doesn't get developed at all. But Benjamin Talmadge and John Andre were kind of the chess players against each other. Andre being for the Redcoats and Talmadge for the Continental Congress. They were both the spy masters, pretty much like slugging it out with each other. They met before Andre was executed, and they had a great deal of respect for each other. In fact, John Andre is regarded as such a high spy master. In England, you can go see his tomb. It's like a huge exhibit. I've actually been there, and yeah. So it's if you're really into history and spies, this is really your thing because Talmadge and John Andre both get a lot of recognition in this show, and they're the guys calling the shots, building the spy rings, and are really working out against each other. So I wanted bringing up Talmadge. I definitely wanted to talk about John Andre for just a tad because we don't get a whole lot of him in this episode.
yeah. What do you got? What do you got for Andre? I actually had read. I'm surprised of what you said about the statue and I'm only going off of one article, but I read that he wasn't actually as like super competent as he's portrayed in the show, but
Oh, really?
but I only have that from one source. So I don't know.
Oh, well, he is the one that flipped Benedict Arnold, right? That's his name, Benedict Arnold. Yeah, John Andre's known. Well, actually, it was his wife that flipped him, but they both working together, or I guess his fiance, because she actually. Well, anyway, too many spoilers. I don't want to skip ahead and get too many spoilers, but um, really quick. I think. Did you have any other characters that you wanted to mention real quick?
Not really. Well, yeah, maybe the dad.
Oh, Richard Woodhull. Yeah, that's right. He's like a magistrate or something for Sawtucket.
Yes. Yeah, and I didn't find out if how accurate his portrayal is. Um, but he's a cool character in that he's just about the law above all else.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Odo in Deep Space Nine. Like, doesn't matter who's running which army is occupying the station. Odo's
Yeah.
just the law. The law.
Yeah, right. And he's like really big buddies with Major Hewitt, who I guess is in charge of the redcoat occupation of Sawtucket. I guess you would call it or they're quartered. They're not. They're not. Yeah, it's not. It's not so much a. Well, I guess it's the king's land at that point.
they're
But
they're,
no,
defe-
they're quartered.
they're defending the town against the rebels.
Oh, okay. There you go. And Major Hewitt is in charge of that, right? He's the top rank in Sawtucket as far as that defense, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, and again, I'll get tired of saying it, but another character that I really really like.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. I like watching him too. He was also in The Expanse. He plays a very different character in The Expanse though.
Okay,
Um,
the only person I recognize from this show is Abe's dad, who is he's one of Captain Jack Sparrow's crew
yeah,
in
that's
the
right. Oh
Pirates movies.
yeah. Cast off these lines or whatever. Yeah. Well, like I said, most of the story takes place in Sawtucket, and our protagonist grew up with a bunch of guys that left and joined the Continental Congress and are fighting for the rebels, so to speak. Um, but I guess he's trying to farm cabbages and doesn't do very well, and they got maggots. So he's going to go and take these cabbages to a buddy of his that he grew up with named Caleb to try and get them, like I guess he's kind of smuggling according to the Redcoats as well as the Continental Congress, uh, type of thing. But anyway, he decides, oh, I can't do anything with these cabbages, so I'm going to take what I can that's good enough, and I'm going to get them sold on the black market and hopefully make something out of this, because he owes a big debt to someone that owns the tavern. Well, I don't know. I don't know if we should
He,
really go into the whole
yeah,
relationship with Anna Strong and him. There's so much going on with this. There's a lot of setup in this. There's way too many characters.
right. He's surprised. He's surprised to find that his contact is Caleb, because Caleb and Ben, along with a bunch like when I guess there's some history of the town that we kind of gets unfolded over time that we weren't
Mhm.
privy to. But apparently, when the Redcoats first came, some of the people that were fiercely continental leaning just had to leave, and that
Yeah.
was Talmadge and Caleb,
Mhm.
amongst other people. But these are childhood friends of Abraham's,
Yeah,
and
they all grew up.
yeah, it's a really great aspect of the show that I love all the families and connections between people that
Mhm.
feels so much like of a piece of its time, of a time when you knew everyone within like your sphere of like, even
Right.
though like
Right.
what is it, like most people never traveled like more than 20 10 20 miles from their house in their whole lives
Yeah.
or something.
Like, where are you
but
going to
with
take a vacation to?
but within that range of your world, you knew everyone.
Right. Absolutely. Um, well, speaking of Talmadge, Caleb, and Abe, I really thought this was kind of cool. They actually set the whole thing up in the show. It looks like Abe is just trying to pull off some cabbages, and Caleb is just a smuggler. Well, it turns out the whole thing was planned as kind of a quote unquote interview to recruit Abe. Um, and when Abe, I guess, trades the cabbages for some silk and some British pounds, he gets picked up by the Continental Congress and they start waterboarding him, and that's when Ben shows up with a pardon. He's like, "Just give me the name of your contact, give me," and Abe refuses, and that's when Ben kind of recruits him, and later on, it turns out that whole thing was a setup. That because Abe didn't give up Caleb's name, they knew they could trust him, and then and so that was like the first step of making sure that they could like bring him in under the fold or something. So I thought that was kind of cool. Plus
It's
spike
very
points on
cool.
that one.
It's
Yeah,
incredibly cool.
yeah. um, but before that whole mess, when we start seeing Abe actually start his life in espionage, he has to come back and fake that he was beat up and mugged by the Continental Congress. Because Ben recruits him and lets him go, and he's like, "Look, I need proof." So they give him all the stuff back, and he cuts himself and shows up all beat up and cut up. And I guess there was like a murder of Captain Joyce that they all think Abe committed. And so this whole he's been missing since the captain's been murdered. So he's coming back from like smuggling and basically beats, and he's actually trying to hide the fact that he might be working for the other side when here they are trying to accuse him of murder. Talk about like being in a serious, like being on the hot plate, right? Um, but I thought it was cool. He like cuts his like forehead with a knife, right? And
Yeah.
and hides the gold and brings the silk to prove, hey, yeah, I was smuggling. Look, and that's how he kind of, I guess, gets himself away from murder
He
charges.
hides his boat and dunks himself in the river so that he
Right.
appears like dripping wet with a story of having been robbed and thrown overboard.
Absolutely, and I thought that was kind of cool. Plus spy points on that. But I guess Major Hewitt had bigger news because, like we said, the Major Hewitt and Abe's dad are like kind of buddies, and they meet for dinner at Abe's dad's house. That's when Major just asks for the names of the people that beat him up, which of course Abe lies about. Um, and here's what's interesting: I'm not sure if this is real, but Hewlett kind of just lets out, hey, by the way, we're going to raid the Continental Congress tomorrow. So if our man Simcoe finds any of these men that beat you up, we're going to make sure they face justice. And that's kind of like really bad spy points, but Hewitt's not like an espionage type guy. He's more of like, the magistrate where the law and justice and right and wrong is very black and white and never like blurred. I don't know. Do you think I think it's believable about him that he would have made that slip. That's pretty privileged information for what is it, a major to let out, right?
Yeah, it's a goof on his part.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, considering his demeanor and his ethical standpoint, maybe he just kind of didn't even think about it. He's not from that world, I guess. So, and it's the
Sure.
magistrate's son and something, but but
Can we mention that
yeah.
the message is coded?
Yeah, I
Um,
actually was about to get there.
yeah,
He gives the major the names, and they say, "All right, run on home. You must be really tired after getting beat up." But Abe, instead of running home, sneaks back into the magistrate's house, which is his dad's house, because he knows he runs upstairs to where the major basically reads his stuff, and he finds this sheet with like rectangle holes in it. It's like a metal sheet with rectangle holes, and he finds a letter that says shit that doesn't mean anything. He's like, this is fucking old as fuck news. Then he places the metal sheet and realizes the note is encoded. And this I think was like groundbreaking back then. Like the idea of using a code,
oh, I think
right?
so very much. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this kind of sheet, I don't know if anybody listening is used to this type of coded material where you can write a whole letter and it makes sense when you read the letter, but it's nothing like of anything interesting. But then you have like a thing you place onto it, and whatever words are revealed. Like I think when I was in elementary school, we learned a little bit about codes, and we used paper clips. Like every every of that far point of the paperclip is a letter you read. This is actually like whole words where it's like a sheet they placed over, and there's like rectangle holes, and every word in the hole is significant. That's when he discovers there's a raid going on at Connecticut, and he has to get this information out to Talmadge. Um, Mad plus spy points on the code. I think that's super cool, especially for this time. I don't think this would have been like regularly understood. I don't think like any just like like if a servant happened to just run in and find the note, they would have been like, well, that's not interesting. You know what I mean? You would have had to have the sheet, which I think is kind of cool.
Right, which he shouldn't be leaving on his desk. I mean, this
Right.
this message was really only safe until it made it to the major.
Right. Uh-huh.
If someone had read it in transit, then they wouldn't have been able to decode it. But now that he's got both of the things sitting on his desk like a dummy, yeah, wasn't
Absolutely.
that hard to figure out once you're sitting at the desk.
Yeah. So this actually puts Abe into a panic because now his childhood buddies are in trouble. Because when Ben tried to recruit him, he wasn't really into the idea. He's kind of like look. I don't think he wants to pick sides. He's like, look, I just want to farm cabbage and live a life and take care of my son. Like that's all I care about. I don't care about this stupid revolution. Just let me farm my cabbages and leave me alone. Um, but when he gets this information that they're going to get raided, that's a big deal because now Ben, Caleb, well, he probably didn't know Caleb at the time, but a lot of his buddies left and went to the Continental Congress, and now they could die, because this isn't going to be like a battle. This is going to be a slaughter, like a full on ambush. So
Well,
this is when he go. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me get in there though, because he actually ends up transmitting the information for one and only one reason that has nothing to do with picking sides. Is he wants to get rid of Simcoe.
Oh, that's right. There was another reason. That's right, because Simcoe. That's right. Major Hewlett had mentioned that Simcoe's leading the raid. So if the Continental Congress gets the information, they can ambush him instead of the other way around, and then Simcoe dies. That's right. That was the main motive. It wasn't just to protect his buddies. That's right. He wanted to get Simcoe dead.
We've mentioned that Simcoe is like a major asshole and borderline, at least sociopath, I would say.
Oh, I'd say psychopathic too. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's definitely got rapist energy. And he's been not too very unsubtly and in a really toxic masculine-esque kind of way, making the moves on Anna Strong, who Abraham cares for. And so he just wants him out of the picture. In fact, we'll find out later when because Simcoe doesn't die in the ambush, and Caleb,
they actually take a prisoner to try and question him.
Right, because Ben wants information, because Ben is all about that.
Yeah.
But that's in that conversation we find out that was like basically Abe's condition, and Caleb is telling Ben like, hey, we're going back on a promise that we made to Abe. There was only one thing that he asked, which was that Simcoe dies.
Right. That's right. Oh, okay. And then Ben's like, no, we can get tons of information. Once we question Simcoe, we'll be fine. Yeah, that's right. Which, of course, we're not going to let the story end here. So, of course, this can't be the only time that Abe gets involved. Right. Abe tells Anna about the information he got. And he's like, look, we could get to Simcoe. She's actually part of now she's going to be used to, like we've talked about dead drops and we've talked about cutouts, and a lot of times the signal is used like you always see in the spy film. Someone just draws a line of chalk onto a mailbox. That's the very typical signal where you'll hear or you'll hear something on the radio, and that's a signal for a meeting to start or a dead drop to be available. Well, it looks like I guess the plan is that Abe and Caleb are going to be the cutouts. But the signal to initiate a meeting is Anna, because the place Anna lives at is on the ocean. So on her, like the clothesline, she always puts out laundry and stuff. She's going to put out a black petticoat, and that's the signal for a meeting. So I thought this was interesting because considering the time, right, just the idea of a cutout would be like huge, right? This is like also groundbreaking stuff, right? So I guess the separation of the line, I guess, between, because Abe gets the info and he's got to get it to Ben. He can't just like run across enemy lines all the time, so it has to get somewhere, where Caleb is the courier. Information Abe gets, Abe lets Anna, hey, do the signal comes, Abe and Caleb meet. Caleb, being the cutout, takes the information directly to Ben. boom, we have a line of communication of passing intelligence to, back and forth to the people that need it, right?
I,
Um,
yes,
Major plus spy points. Yeah, sorry,
I
go on.
have actually I have a big quibble with this one, and
Okay.
I think I think it's the only thing in the season that I can think of that actually really bugs me as far as tradecraft, and
Okay.
it goes like this. Okay, so Ben's plan to vet Abe is great. The
Mhm.
idea that he's come up with the idea of putting out a signal, a secret signal, to say when Caleb should come and collect Abe's information, that's also great. But the system he designed is that, laundry needs to be hung in a certain way. Well, only women are doing the laundry hanging, as far as
Mhm.
I know, and as far as we see in this show. So here's the flaw in Ben's plan: is it requires Abe to, after just immediately having been recruited, to recruit a woman to assist him. And why does he trust why does he want another person to be involved in the conspiracy?
Mhm.
And B, why would he trust Ben to find the right person and be able to set it up? It's a great way to bring Anna Strong into the story. I like it a bunch, but as far as tradecraft goes, that's my single biggest, like, if we were doing worst and best, I think that would have been my number one worst.
Well, they all grew up together, right? Like when she hears that Ben and Caleb are involved, she was part of the circle, right, of growing up.
I still think the fewer people involved, the better, and that
Oh, I see.
you should have thought of a signaling plan that didn't require another person,
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
because
Oh, and
you
you're
don't have
saying they just
you don't, and you as Ben, you don't have control over that.
right, and you're saying that they just kind of did it to bring Anna Strong into the story because Anna Strong is a real historical person that needed to be part of the story.
Right, and it very well might be that the laundry signaling was actually how they did it, but in the
Mhm.
context of what we see in the show, it's just a big flaw in Ben's plan.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, definitely, that makes sense. I can see that. I did like though that they set up the line. That's kind of what I was thinking was like the cool part. Um, but when the meeting starts, this is when Abe finds out that he was being interviewed the whole time and the whole thing was set up because Caleb turns out to be the courier. And this is when Caleb lets him know that Ben put him on secret detail, and Caleb's kind of like a smuggler, right? And that's why he's being used to pass this information because he can sneak in and out, um, which I thought was kind of cool. I guess he's used to smuggling or something. Did we even get that history
Well,
about him?
yeah, we know he was a sailor. He spent some time in Greenland. All I know is he was an accomplished seaman and privateer.
Right. Um, but I thought that was kind of cool that using someone that knows how to like get in on the using the backwaters and know where to slip in and out and avoid detection.
Well, yeah, of
Especially
course, because Ben and most of his men are, marching around in their big shiny blue and gold uniforms, and
right.
but for and his superior officer, whose name escapes me, and that was also a real guy, but they changed his first name for some reason. I don't know why. Um, is he always plays the skeptic, the intelligent skeptic that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you want to have in a show like this, so that so that Ben can walk around going, "Stupid boss, he doesn't fucking understand." Um,
Yeah, yeah.
that guy thinks that gathering intelligence means, you know, cruising around in the countryside with
Using
soldiers.
scouts. Yeah, his whole thing was the history. Shows that scouts are effective and blah blah blah. And like his idea. Yeah, you're right. His idea is solely reconnaissance using scouts. Like he doesn't believe. Like I think when Talmadge brings it up. He's like, I'm not going to pay people for information. They'll just take all of our money. Blah, blah, blah. Just like the tried and true, scouts. That's how we do things. It's how they've always been done. This is how they'll always be done. That's yeah.
And let's remember how despicable of an occupation spying was regarded
Right.
for a very long time. There's a later episode where Roger Roberts, says like lower than a sodomite.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, the point going back to Caleb. Yeah, Caleb's the guy that is can pass as native.
Mm-hmm.
In his cute
Yeah,
little
he
hat.
doesn't dress like a soldier. He looks like a smuggler. So
Right.
even if he did get caught, you caught me. I'm a smuggler. Look. I got these cabbages. What do you want? I'm just trying to make $1. Living my life. Very good cover. Very some major plus 5 points on that. I think the only thing that Abe got in trouble for the smuggling was he had to give like a fake pledge publicly. And that's when like the dad starts suspecting Abe because at the dinner the names he gave were fake. And I guess the magistrate is like, I don't know why you protected these people and why you lied, but I know there are no men by those names over at the place that you said that you got attacked.
Right. And I'm so sorry. I gotta jump in while you've been talking about this, about the fact, giving those fake names. I made a mistake. The baby moment that I was talking about, it's not in episode 9. It's in this episode. It's in episode 1.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, where he just looks at him. Yeah, but I think he was supposed to give a fake pledge, and that's what he does. There's some cool editing where Wally's giving the fake pledge of how I'll never aid the enemy or anybody who's trying to sabotage the crown. And there's like shots back and forth between him giving the pledge and then the Redcoat raid led by Simcoe, which of course the info we find out, the info had gotten back to Ben, and there's an ambush set up for the Redcoats, and everybody gets shot up, and boom, 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 very intense, like emotional moment. I liked it a lot. And they take Simcoe captive, like we had discussed, so that they can question him about who the leak might be. Because I think Talmadge had mentioned that he was talking to one of his superiors, and they said there might be a leak. And clearly, if they're aware of this hideout that they had, there has to be a leak, right? So we get a nice setup for the rest of the season to find out who the big leak amongst the Continental Congress is, while we're setting up Abe as the big leak of Sawtucket, So I liked it. Really intense moment.
Yeah, and that's going to be Andre's arc.
Right.
When we get more into him. I don't remember if it's in this episode or it's soon, but he comes across the idea of recruiting and training an actress to put his source to the test. I guess that needs to come after the ambush, so surely that's later. If it wasn't in this episode, I think it's in the next.
No, it was not. But believe me, we'll get plenty of screen time with Andre. Because like I said, the two spy masters in this story, so keep an eye out for both of these guys, is Andre versus Talmadge. And the show does a great job of setting them up as the two spy masters that are playing chess in the revolutionary times. So definitely keep an eye out for them. But overall, like I really dug this show, and I'm really excited to talk about it because I've been wanting it. We've been wanting to do TV shows, and I think I'm enjoying the format that we're doing. I don't know about our listeners, but I've been excited to talk about Turn, and I'm glad that you're digging it because you just finished. Like I think Todd, you finished like in a week. You just knocked out season 1, no problem.
It's like a week and a half. Yeah. No, I really got into it. I'm totally gonna finish this series.
Yeah.
It's my new favorite. It's my new number 1, for sure. What do you think? Can I throw out a couple other minor fuck ups? I think.
Oh, please go right ahead. Absolutely.
Simcoe is pretty smart. Actually, I see a lot of people being really smart too in this show about like kind of subtly trying to probe for information, you know, like, oh, whoa, oh, wow, you're a general. Wow, that's amazing. How many men do you have under your command?
Yeah.
um, but Simcoe, as a prisoner, is actually prodding and teasing out information from Caleb and Ben, and he finds out that they're from Sawtucket,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that was a fuck up on Caleb's part,
Absolutely.
letting him have that information. I also, you know, it didn't
That wasn't in this one though.
yeah, I
They
think it
haven't
is.
interrogated. They haven't interrogated Simcoe yet.
Okay.
Yeah, they just got him.
Okay. Well, the other one was Ben leaving the bonnet at the beginning of the episode when Ben's regiment, or whatever you call it, I don't know military terms that well, were basically slaughtered by Robert Rogers, who had
Uh-huh.
gotten information via Andre from their as yet unknown continental source. You know, he escaped by disguising himself as one of Rogers' men, and at the ambush, he leaves the hat of the man he killed as an insult to Rogers, and that doesn't accomplish anything good. That's
Oh yeah,
that's
that's right. Yeah. No, that was silly. Yeah,
that
that was more. That was more
that
cinematic.
it's an ego fuck up.
Yeah, it's super ego fuck up. Yeah, absolutely. That'll probably come back to bite him in the ass
It
later.
absolutely does. Of course, it does.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I completely forgot to mark that down. That was really silly. I don't even know what the point of that was. He was like, "Oh, I wish Roger was here, but hey, this will like really stick it to him." You know, it's like, okay, not a good idea, buddy. Um, any other fuck ups you wanted to go over?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. What are we gonna do next? Episode 8 is what I think you said.
No, this is a 10 episode series, and we're gonna do episode 6 next, which let's see, it's at the end of episode 5, ends with our first appearance of George Washington,
Uh,
who's going to be a character in this show. So it's we're going to get deeper into Washington's involvement in episode 6, and I think it's typical of TV seasons that it's right around the middle, like right after the middle of the season is where they start really setting up the major events that are going to culminate in the finale. And I think
mhm.
that'll be the case. So yeah, we'll do episode 6 next week and episode 10 the following week. After that, it's going to be a movie that's going to be crossing off a box that I've been wanting to cross off for a long time, to do a World War II kind of behind enemy lines type of movie. And
Right.
we're going to go with Clint Eastwood in Where Eagles Dare.
Where Eagles Dare. I'm excited. I think you had mentioned that this might be one of the films that influenced Inglourious Bastards.
Oh yeah, well, Inglorious Bastards definitely draws from also this whole like little subgenre of behind enemy lines kind of World War II stuff. Yeah, yeah. I'd like to have done Inglorious Bastards, but it just felt disrespectful to do the like Quentin's reimagining of the source
Yeah.
material without actually tackling something that is squarely in the source material first. So Inglorious
Mhm.
is we'll get there someday, I hope.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, join us next week as we keep going down, talking about Turn, George Washington Spies. If you don't already, please subscribe to our podcast, Spies Like Us Podcast. You can search that on any podcast app, or you can just go to spieslikeus.net. And please give us some feedback if you love us, if you hate us. We'd love to hear what you think. You can email us at spieslikeus.net or shoot us a tweet, spies_like_us, or I think facebook.com/spieslikeus, and shoot us Spies Like Us Podcast and shoot us a message. and we'll definitely be happy to get back to you.
And as always, if you haven't already, if you like the show, chances are you know someone else that might like the show. Why don't you tell them?
At a park bench.
At a park bench if possible.
The preceding transmission sampled the song Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net.